Hello, guys. Welcome to another podcast, or should I say Zoomcast. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good. Zooming along all day, every day.
Well, I have no idea, guys, how Zoom manages this bandwidth. I mean, it's got to be millions upon millions of people doing this right now.
Oh man, I know it
Isn't that crazy?
It hasn't been too glitchy for me.
Yeah. I think they limited the bandwidth a little bit, by the way, but I checked the box to make this HD. So hopefully it will be HD if we release this video.
I like
Zoomcast.com is taken. I just checked that.
I'm sure.
Did you?
I'm sure.
There's a button on Zoom where you can beautify your skin and make it like more silky.
I need that. I didn't do that.
Yeah. I didn't do that today. I didn't even shave today.
Same. I don't have very much, but yeah, neither.
So, how are you guys holding up with your businesses right now? I know we've been talking about it a lot. You guys have been kind of getting back to the grind, I guess it was, in helping your customers and drumming up new customers. How are you guys holding up?
It's I think well, given the circumstances, I feel like it's actually kind of settling into a normal of some kind, which is interesting. Sorry if you hear anything. That's some of my kids here.
We're all at home.
We're all at home.
We all get it.
But there seems to be a normal that I don't know if you guys would agree. It's like almost like, and I don't know if that's good or bad. You
know what though? I think this whole Zooming culture now is fun because it's kind of like taking out all the overproduction and just making it more real. When you see newscasters at home and you see what they're next to their fireplaces and their pictures of their kids and stuff like that.
I love that.
It's more personal, and it's like becomes the norm. And I think things might change in the future where we're not going to be on big sets. We're just going to tell it like it is and be real. And
have you guys seen any of Chris Cuomo's nightly things? He's got coronavirus, and he's doing it from the basement of his house, and he's literally sometimes he's sweating, sometimes he's like, but he's given like a play-by-play every day of what it feels like to go through it.
It's interesting.
And every once in a while you'll see his stairs in the background. His wife will come and like put a plate of vitamins or a drink or something at the top of the stairs. Like you said, Brad, it's like so raw. Like this is CNN, right? Or some other news channel, whoever, but it's just so raw just to see people with their AirPods doing their newscasts. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I think there's going to be so many change after this where people are going to maybe take down a little bit of the facades and start getting real a little bit more. And the way that we work is going to be maybe more authentic. We're going to be, I think there's more graciousness and just more flexibility. We have to have it right now, and hopefully maybe some of that will continue on.
I hope so.
As we release into the wild and we go back to our jobs. And
I agree. I think I've felt like business, especially in the U.S., at times in the last several years has been desensitized, and you get it's almost like people don't realize there's people on the other side of things. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and I know we always try and put the frame on like what are we seeing, what's the opportunity or the benefit or the good in this thing, and I think one of the goods is the sensitivity. I think is going up. You get on the phone with someone or over Zoom or whatever, and everyone realizes that everyone's at home. There's no facade. There's no covering up anything. And everyone knows what people are going through, and most likely that everyone has some pain attached to it too, right? And so there's, I don't know, sensitivity that I think is coming back, and I think that'd be really good. I've almost been like lamenting some of the desensitized nature of our business culture over the last several years. I think it really got to a difficult place. So
I was speaking with someone today who's kind of like a chief operations officer of a small to medium sized company, and she was saying that, I think she said her words were, "This is going to change how we do business going forward," in that they've always allowed some work from home time, a couple days a week. But she said they are seeing such high productivity out of their team during this time because there's very little distraction for the most part. And they're getting a lot more things done. They're seeing a higher level of engagement from their team, from their employees. And she said, I think we're going to institute this more and more, which I thought that was fascinating, which we've kind of seen the potential of that happening, but to actually hear it in the trenches from someone, I'm sure that's being echoed across the country.
I mean, you got to be thinking right now, especially if you're a giant corporation, you may have never been wanting to adopt any sort of out of office philosophy. And now you've been forced to, so you've had to do something that you maybe thought you never could do. Now that you're doing it, and you've had to figure it out for 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it is, everyone must be thinking, is it necessary for us all to be in a giant expensive office building every single day? I definitely, there's pros and cons. I think that I'm considering, when we go back, like going to a hybrid model where we can keep the pros of both and lessen the cons of both, because there's definitely a benefit to not being isolated. And I do think we have some fully remote people that's the case normally, and they suffer. They can suffer from isolation, and we try and combat that in certain ways. That's a real thing, and I see that on our team right now. Just to be honest with you, like I can see, especially certain personalities, like kind of suffering a bit in isolation right now. So I think that's a hard thing. But on the other side, there's some benefit to working in isolation at times. The focus is so much greater, and it's a different environment. So you're not in the routine, the mundane every day. I hope to take some blend of this back.
That's awesome. Well, why don't we use that as a segue to kind of jump into, productivity when it comes to sales. And, I know you guys, we've had so many conversations about it, and we've got friends and colleagues and clients. Probably continue our conversation about how to thrive in this time, how to reinvent, reimagine yourself. Brad, I know you're going to do some training on that soon in the next week. We can talk about that at some point in this Zoomcast. But how are you guys doing with, first of all, your existing clients? Let's talk about that, and then let's talk about any potential new clients.
Yeah, good discussion. We were talking earlier before we started the podcast. I know we were talking about this discussion, and personally, just being very transparent, it's just a struggle for us right now to focus on new business. And even though I know we need to right now, because come June, July, and August, right now we're not filling up things in our pipeline, right? So we probably won't see the effect of that for 3 or 4 or 5 months. Typically, our sales cycle to onboard a new client is, typically 2 to 4 or 5 months. And leads that we did have put things on hold. And so they may start back up again. These leads, they may come back to us, and they may want to continue a projects that we've discussed with them. But a lot of things that put on hold, and I think it's just the uncertainty. Right now, what I've been saying is that most of our energy has been trying to keep the boat afloat, and not just our own core business, but our clients, helping them get over hurdles that they've had to get over. A lot of them are rethinking the way they do business right now, just to be able to do business in this environment. We have clients that did a lot of live events all over the world that they had to cancel those events, and now they had to bring all those online, and how to rethink those things. So we're helping our clients rethink to keep their boat afloat, which keeps our boat afloat. And that's, to me, that's business, right? It's business development. We want to continue to rethink our clients' business, but as far as being proactive into developing new leads right now, I think it's challenging for all companies, because you almost feel like everyone is just, stopping everything because they don't know what things are going to be like. They don't know when they're going to start, being able to forward think their business. And so I think that's a challenge right now. I'm sure it's a challenge for all businesses that are listening. It's definitely a challenge for me. I don't personally feel like I've had the bandwidth to be able to devote as much time in that as I would like to. But I do feel there's an opportunity coming as soon as we all feel like we have a date when we're kind of going to get back into action. I think all of this time has created a lot of thought patterns. People think about their businesses deeper. They think about their values. They reinvent themselves at this point. So they might have a lot of great ideas. They might have a lot of great things they want to do, but they're just waiting for us to get back to work before they can actually implement that, right? So maybe in 2 or 3 weeks from now, when we actually have a little better understanding of when we might get back into action, then at that point, we might see, more leads come in, people wanting to do things with businesses like ours, digital agencies, marketing new products, rethinking their current products. So there could be some awesome opportunity for us within the next 3 weeks and plus over the summer. But right now, I feel like I've got all my clients now afloat, and it might not be for another 2 weeks before I'm able to actually put some more energy into developing some new opportunities. What about you, Ken?
I resonate with all that stuff. I mean, I can't imagine there's a service business, agency, B2B business in the world that's not kind of struggling with that a little bit. And I think that's for agencies, and I think it's an age-old struggle in a lot of ways, and it's not any easier now. The idea of servicing current business and serving current business and making that successful, and then finding new business, like your company needs to thrive needs to run on both, right? Like it can't do one without the other, really.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, because any business needs that. Any business needs new business, and they need success with their product. So I would say for us, it's similar. We focus, obviously, servicing current clients and making sure they're really successful. And right now, like coming around them in even more important ways and supporting, that's a big part of what we do. That's a lot. That's basically most of our day to day. I think that all the, new business is something, and I categorize it as new business, sales of your services, whatever, but let's just call it marketing your company. Like the way you do that, it's always been something that it can be hard to do for yourself. And I think it's really important. It's something that I've been focusing aggressively on over the last several years, just to figure out how we can resource that, because it's important, and it's been a struggle, but we're doing it. And I think in some ways I'm really passionate about how we're doing it, and I can talk through that. And it's driving some results too. Some really good results in a lot of places, and but ultimately I think just to kind of reiterate, like people, like where we stand right now is, hey, like for us, we help people with their e-commerce channel primarily. That is, in a lot of ways, the solution to the problem that a lot of businesses are seeing right now, because it's an online channel versus an offline channel, which is what's struggling. So in a lot of ways, our clients are thriving through that, but there are some that are struggling. and there are some that are pulling back a little bit because of certain fears and threats to how they do business right now. But I don't think that's going to last for too long. Our new sales, like our pipeline, I think to your point, Brad, like all the new projects that we were talking about at one time in the last 3 weeks have just definitely slowed down. Most people have pumped the brakes on things. I think that's going to free up. Again, the way I say it, I don't know if I've ever said it on these podcasts, but the way I've been saying it is, we just need to aggressively help people make the right decisions on the sales side. So like, if there's a company that is considering doing a project with us and we don't think that's the right decision for them, like it's not smart for them to spend it, or they don't have the money, or their business shut down or whatever, and that's why they're pumping their brakes, like helping them make that decision and saying, yeah, that's fine. That's good. You should do that, whatever that is. And then for the category of people who I believe the majority, and I would think this is the case everywhere, the majority of people who are pausing are probably pausing because of maybe an irrational fear, right? Like they're seeing what's going on around them, or they're in a big corporation, whatever that is, and they're sort of like, I better pump the brakes on this because I'm not sure. Just the environment seems crazy. Maybe they're not sure about something as sure as they should be, but maybe their business is not being really affected very, very much right now. For those people, I think, again, helping them make the right decision is good there. So it's almost like, selling them hard on what they need to do, again, with or without us, but like, hey, we really think you need to do this thing for this reason. And despite the uncertainty in these environments, here's why it's important for you to continue with this project or invest in it or whatever. Mm-hmm. So helping people make the right decisions has been our sales strategy now more than ever. It kind of always has been, but it's become really clear for us. I don't know if that helps someone else maybe, because sales can be hard. Like sales, it feels like you're sometimes forcing people to do things or whatever. And that's never the case if you believe in your product and in your service and like all that kind of stuff. But still, I don't know, for us, I've been saying that word, that phrase, help people make the right decisions. And we're starting to see saying this, like we're starting to see that kind of freeze mode kind of loosen up a bit. I almost feel like people have gotten into a new normal. We haven't had, I imagine everybody's slow, but we've had new opportunities come in right now. And those new opportunities, I would say, are probably, in this time, if people choose to take initiative, they're probably more likely to do something than in normal times, right? So those are some interesting ones that we're. Have you
guys noticed that? It made me think your comment about people becoming unfrozen. It's almost like they kind of cautiously were forced into it. Then they went through some shock. They froze up. They freeze many times. There was hiring freezes, spending freezes, and now it's almost like, okay, I'm warming up to this new normal a little bit. Have you guys noticed? I've noticed it with a couple of clients that I have. Is that there was, March started off strong, then a dive. This is specifically e-commerce business, which many businesses are in, kind of a dive. And now it's actually going up because I think so many people are stuck inside, and their only way to connect, to research, to buy, to have any contact with the outside world is through the internet and e-commerce. So I'm seeing, I don't know if you guys are seeing, that there's actually been an uptick in some types of sales, search engine marketing. Overall, it seems like there's an interesting, cautious rise in a lot of this. Have you guys seen any of that?
Yeah, I bought 10 ebooks just this week. No, I definitely. I mean, there's.
I think you bought mine.
Yeah, there's like there's some lucky companies right now. I call them lucky just because they've been able to probably thrive in this kind of environment, right? The type of product, the way they distribute the product, there's probably a demand for it during this time. And so there are those companies that are thriving during this time. You look at numbers like even Costco and other companies that are thriving during this time because they're finding that, people, grocery stores and other things where people need supplies and they're buying them themselves, We're talking about toilet paper, Bob, if you think about all the toilet paper that we use as people, I would say 40 to 50% we use at our workplace, and those are given to us. Like, we don't pay for toilet paper, right? Our company does, or the office space that we rent does. And so now we're having to pay for that and buy that, and the supply chain wasn't ready for the demand, right? At your grocery store. And so there's a lot of companies that could possibly be thriving. And I think, if you can engage those types of companies, you might have a better luck of actually getting new business. But there will be some new companies, in the next there'll be some companies in the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully, that will convert the way they do business, and we'll be looking for companies like us to work with. And so that's kind of where I'm looking, is like, I don't know if you guys remember, going through 2008 recession, but 2008 and 2009 was pretty tough. I was in the marketing business then, and lost clients, lost business, business dried up. But man, after that was over, it was like an explosion of new ideas and thought and excitement and spend. And so what I'm looking forward to right now is trying not to get too down on the loss and grieve that loss, but rather try to keep my head afloat and look to the future and go, okay, all of this time right now that things are being kind of taken from you, hopefully within the next 6 to 8 months, all of that will be returned to you, but it will be returned with even more, even more gains. And hopefully this time will allow companies to rethink themselves and to think about what they really do and how they really serve clients and why they even exist. And I think those will make stronger brands, stronger companies, stronger products. And I'm excited about that because those are the things I love. That's why I participate in this business. This is my business exists, and I participate in this industry because I love helping companies build great things and provide great products to customers and that are really needed. So for me, I'm hoping to kind of take this time to kind of rethink my own company, rethink why I exist, and really what I love to do personally within the space I'm able to work in. So
I would say to that, we're seeing, so if you look, like some of the things you said are backed up by statistics. I think I saw that the internet usage as a whole was up like 35% or something like that, which I'm surprised it's not more. There are segments like, obviously they're essentials, right? That those essentials are doing well. But then there are segments like education, which are growing as well. And that makes sense too, for 2 reasons, right? Like, people are at home and consuming more, but also people are sometimes unsure about where they're going. There's like now maybe more of a need to become more valuable or better at what they do, or maybe they're switching industries because they've gotten laid off, who knows what. But education is up. Obviously kids education too, but like just education in general. And so it would make sense that, like, again, like those are some of the industries that are thriving. Now, I think in my perspective is, as agencies, you're well positioned for that, because this is where the hard part comes in, I think, because it's hard to focus on this stuff. When you're servicing, depending, it's that issue of like, how do I split my time up appropriately? But as an agency, like, you've got experience, you've got a ton of experience, more than anyone could pay in any university, right? And probably across hundreds of brands or more, and different business models, all that kind of stuff. So you have tons of experience, deep on a specialty, and so you're well positioned to teach that to people. So that's one kind of area that's interesting, I think. And then the other area is I was on a call with it was a Zoom call with a whole bunch of private equity guys, And we work with a lot of private equity companies because a lot of them own direct-to-consumer brands. And it was interesting because like they're all looking at, they made the point that right now the value is in strategy and a really great leadership versus the hottest thing, or, the growth hacking movement, like all that kind of stuff, which is where the value was 4 or 5 weeks ago. And then going beyond that, like probably for several years. Right. So that makes sense. Like they're like, hey, these companies are not sure. Like the only way you can navigate this really well with any type of certainty is not by looking at the shiny new thing, but really by figuring out what is the strategy best to best succeed here. How do we split up our marketing funds in the right ways to, maybe we can't, again, maybe now is not the time where our revenue is up, but how do we use that so that in a few months we're in a better place? That's all strategy and experience, right? So I feel like agencies are really well positioned for that, because that's kind of what they do. It's just, then obviously acting on it is a completely different thing, but I feel like the positioning is potentially even more advantageous than other industries, other businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, you guys are speaking to a lot of not only leadership, but also one of the things I wanted to talk about during this time was going back to why, brands, companies, I think the reason that they find themselves in this situation, a lot of us do, is it's really easy to get comfortable when times are good and you're humming along and you're somewhat mindlessly going about our normal lives of business. And then these times push us into the human inward present moment of saying, who am I? Why am I here? What's important to me? And we're doing that as human beings right now, right? We're doing that with our families, our partners. We're forced to just sit in this time and to find a new normal. And it's caused a lot of people to question a lot of different things. So what's important, what's not, how valuable is my time? How do I want to spend the rest of my days? Even people are existential crisis, even all of that, depending on where the spectrum you are on this, a brand and a company is just made up of people. And so I think this is a great time, as you guys have touched on, to really, if we've lost our way as a company or we've lost momentum somehow, to really go back and just ask the hard questions with yourself, with your partners, with your team, whatever it may be of, why did we start this company to begin with? What was our passion at the time? Can we retrace our steps to remember why I started in the first place? And then let that inspire new direction. Let that refill your tank with passion. Let that create new ideas. I think it sounds simplistic, but I think it's so important during this time. And I think what you'll find, many of us will find, is that you'll get back in touch with your center, with your core, and find new passion for your business. Find new creative ways to say, oh, that's what excited me about it. I've gotten way over here and doing this when actually what excited me was this. What are more ways we can do this? That's just something I wanted to touch on.
That's a good topic. I feel like there's a part of me that puts some of my business purpose into our products and services that we produce. And I think that is the wrong thing, because I think that what I found is for me personally, if I have to pivot really quickly, that's really hard for me. I don't like change, and I don't know if the uncertainty of the pivot. But what I'm finding out though is that we all have to pivot, and sometimes we have to pivot very quickly. And if I'm putting my value of my company into my products and services, and then the next day have to actually recreate myself, right? Because something happens, or the customer now no longer, the culture changes, or something like this happens. Is my purpose in my product, or can I pivot quickly and my company still has the same purpose, still has the same ethos, because it's not based on just the products and services that I produce. right? So I think when you talk about the purpose of your company, the purpose of your business, you have to create a purpose that you could pretty much do anything and you still have the same purpose.
It sounds super, like, it sounds really, again, like, fluffy, sensitive. I think I say that a lot, but like, if to say it, but like, it's really about your business needs to be not what you do or how you do it. It needs to be about the why behind it.
Yeah.
Now, and I think why that gets really practical is like right now, like for instance, I think agencies suffer from this. I think a lot of industries do, but I think agencies really do, because like, how many marketing agencies are out there? How many of you guys label yourselves as a marketing agency that are listening to this? Like, that's the what you do, arguably a generic term for it too. But like, how does that differentiate you? What if, or worse, what if like you're a Facebook marketing agency? What if Facebook gets taken away? Like, you're no longer in business and you're probably not really a Facebook marketing agency. Like, that is the what you do. I've been wrestling with this for years, and probably because I come from a slightly different background, but I think that's I think pigeonholing yourself into the what or the how it makes it easy for people to understand what you do, maybe. And it sometimes makes it easy for people to consider you for a project. And maybe that's why people do it. But like, it's really hard to build a business around that. And I think it's the opposite of diversification, which I think is one of the keys to building a healthy business. So like, you take like trade shows right now. Like, if you were a trade show company, like right now you're struggling, you're probably out of business. If you were a experience company, I don't know what a better word was for it, and that's what you were about, then you're not necessarily out of business. Trade shows are just one way you did that, and I think that's the difference. And I think it's a key difference, because something that we've been working on is this in particular, like, we sell experience and knowledge, really. Like, that's probably what every agency sells, really. Now, most people deliver that in they call them done for you services, right? Like, most agencies deliver that typically of like, okay, I'm going to implement that experience by doing it for you, and I'm going to get paid for the hours or the project or whatever. But really, I don't think you're really in that business. I think you're in the experience knowledge business. So why only limit yourself to delivering that one way, which is doing it for somebody? Because if that way gets taken away, then you're done. If the channel that if you're a Facebook marketer, and that channel gets taken away, then you're done. And it's really hard to build a passion and a purpose and a why behind that. And so, I think that like centering and, the Simon Sinek Start With Why talk, the story brand stuff, like all that, those are all probably pretty much essentials for everyone to listen to, and probably most people have. But you still find like, I don't know, like the centering the business around the what is, I think it's a common, but it's a bad business strategy. And that's not easy. It's not really easy to pull to the why. And sometimes it can even be like too out there, so people can't connect with it. So it's this balance. But anyway, the way I look at our business is, we're not doing this as well as, I really think it's not about us doing it well. It's more of my philosophy on it, and we're trying. But I look at our business as we sell experience and knowledge that produces results, and systems maybe, and formulas and those kind of things. And one way to do business with us is by us working with you. Another way to do business with us should be through you purchasing that knowledge some other way, or us, leading you as you do it, But there's sort of, I think maybe the point I'm making is, I do think, like I said, I've probably said it a million times right here, but not centering it around the what, I think is a real misstep. And I think could have a real downside. And it also limits, I think, your opportunities to grow and make the most out of what you're good at, which is not really working one-on-one with someone. That's just one way to do something.
I always look at like what I call legacy brands, right? Companies that have been around for 100 years. What they did 10 years ago, they don't do anymore. Times have changed and technology changes and culture changes, but they're still the same company. They still have the same heart. They still have the same foundations. And those are companies who have determined their why early on and have shared that internally with their culture, have never let go of that. They still understand who they are. And you look at other companies who've kind of lost their way. Is because they never knew what their why was, and they never, or if they did, nobody ever heroed it and kept that ember burning, right, of their why. And so somehow they lost their way. And when they lose their way, that sometimes they can lose their company and they can lose their brand. We've all seen brands that have done that. I would just recommend at this time, I know, Bob, we've talked about this, and we're going to be doing some things to talk more about this in the future for our company, but just to maybe take the time right now, even if you're a solopreneur, or if you have a small business and you're leading the business, or if you're part of even a larger business, start to take some time to think about those things and start to really take this time to look deep into your company and go, okay, why do we do what we do? And what if everything changed tomorrow? What if everything changed tomorrow and we can't do what we did the day before? How do we still continue to be the same company with the same ethos and the same passion? And start to write those things down, right, on paper. Like, this is what really makes us. If everything was stripped away from us, we would still be here tomorrow, and this is what we would still be doing, even if it looked completely different. And if you write those things down, that'll help you get closer to the why. That'll help you understand who you are. And, there might be things that you change. And maybe this is a good catalyst to kind of start new or start over or rethink. And it's a time for renewal. So, I think this is a great time. And, and this will help you in your sales, because now you can take the time to refine who you are. So the next time you are on a sales call, you can take some of these principles and things that you've had time to think about and now introduce those into, and tell a potential client the whys, right? They love to hear that. They really want to know what makes you unique. And sometimes the unique differentiator between one company and another company that provides a similar service isn't just the services they provide, but the why they do it and the passion behind it and the experience and other things that you bring along the table. That is really the unique selling point, right, of your business. And
it moves you from a commodity to the only one, again, which is always that sort of target, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, what I've understood is, our business, I try to break out of I try not to be a commodity, but let's face it, we all kind of do similar things. But what I found is the companies that do it better are the ones that understand their why and are way more passionate about it. And they come with experience, but that passion behind what they do and their why, and the employees, the passion behind the employees, and even the business owners could never outrun, a company that's just doing it just for work. They'll never be able to compete with the passion of a company or a business owner or employees that understand why. And
then what I meant was like being perceived as a commodity. I think we all know that like what we do is not a commodity, but like a lot of times it's perceived as a commodity, and perception is reality.
Sure.
And so one way to get around that, which I think is one of the best ways, is building that why and then communicating it well and having your point of view that works, that's unique in the marketplace. Building a personality around your brand around it, I think, is important. And that leads to the topic of the struggle of how do you do that, and how do you find time to do that?
Yeah.
which can be really hard. I mean, I feel like, I think I was telling you guys earlier, like sometimes feel like service businesses, specifically agencies, you've got like double the work of other industries. Again, we work with direct consumer brands, and we have a direct consumer channel for our business. It's like you build, with those brands, you create your product and you invest into that and you refine it, you make it better over time and all that kind of stuff. And then you sell it, and your business is a simplified way, but you're investing in your product, and you're selling your product. With agencies, you're investing into your product, which is your services, how you do all that kind of stuff. You're selling your product, and then you're also, which is the most time consuming and probably most important part of it, you're helping people through the process of being successful with your product. So it's like a whole additional piece of business that you're dealing with, and you really have to do all three. Some people say that business is all innovation and marketing. That's all it is like innovating and marketing. What you do, you got to do both, and you've got to make people successful at using it and hold.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's kind of hard because it's like I always think of myself like, what if Apple had to make iPhones for themselves and sell their iPhones, but then also had to help other companies make iPhones and other products and sell and market those products for other clients. It's like, you're right, you're doing both. And it's it is one of those industries like that. And so you're having to work overtime for not only yourself and your own business, but also you're so valuable to the success of your client's business and your client's products. And it's a lot of work, and it's hard. And that's one of the things that I think we struggle with, is that it's easier for us to serve our own clients than to even serve ourselves sometimes. And that's where we get ourselves to the point where, we've talked about this on other podcasts, is you got to put the, oxygen mask on yourself first. You got to be healthy. You got to do those things for yourself in your own business before you can really be healthy enough to really serve your clients well.
One of the things that I've said this for years, and I try to tell this to other agency owners, and it doesn't apply to every agency owner, but I think many agencies it does. And that's you need to stop seeing yourself as a service business, as you guys had talked about, commoditizing things. This is what we do, but really see yourself in 2020. You need to be seeing yourself as a media company. Because what you do is you create, you produce, you enhance, you market a media, whether that media is in video, whether it's in digital ads, whether it's in Facebook, social, it's all pixels, it's all content. You're helping your client tell their story. And when you reframe yourself to say, I'm a production house, I'm a media company that happens to have clients that I help with their media and tell their story, that then helps to reframe who you are. And during this time specifically, if you've been telling really good stories and having really creative ways to get your clients in front of people, now's the time to be doing that for yourself in a lot of ways. And so I think using this time to kind of rethink, getting back to the why. Another thing that I was thinking of that other brands have done really effectively, it's become commonplace. And I'm starting to see it more and more. Brad, you and I were on a call today with a client that actually is starting to walk into this, and that's learning how to give the keys, your keys to brand ambassadors, give your keys to your customers. Classic brands like Converse and Nike and Red Bull and Mini, they've all set the pace in terms of giving the keys to the brand to their customers. They didn't necessarily need to reinvent themselves, but they reinvented the way that they communicated, and thus, in effect, did reinvent themselves by allowing their customers to collaborate, to use digital tools, to design, like Converse, design your own Chucks or design your own dream car. They got crucial brand insights while appealing to more modern shoppers, a younger demographic. And so what they did now is common. And I think that's just one example of how businesses and brands and even agencies can really think through, like, everybody's sitting at home, everybody's online, everybody's trying to look for the good in this. Why not figure out ways to give people the keys to your business, to your brand, in real healthy ways, if that makes sense?
I think that's probably a scary thing for a lot of brands.
No, sure, of course it is.
Right?
Sure.
The thing that I see is it's been 3 weeks and we went through a huge shift, right? In 3 weeks, we went through this really quick shift, and the way that we do business now is completely changed. I've been sitting for 8 hours in front of my at home, on Zoom calls all day long. I wasn't doing that 3 weeks ago, right? And so, but the reality is, we still, in business, you're always going to go through change. Maybe not in 3 weeks, but that change might be over 3 years. And you still have to figure out that you're going to change, and you have to be okay with that. And so I think, that's part of what I'm feeling right now, is I'm not used to the extreme change, and I don't like change. I don't think human beings like to change. But we have to understand that that's part. If I can get in my mindset that I'm constantly need to reinvent myself and rethink myself and rechange my business, I think that's what's going to make my business more healthier and more successful. I think that's when we're going to be able to offer clients even, the best of us, is when we're able to go, listen, if I have to change next week, I'm willing to change, and be okay with that, and actually almost like invite that. And that's where, to me, I'm kind of learning through this process to be more flexible, to be not quite like this as much, try to relax, try to, like you said, Bob, allowing the customer to kind of own your brand is a scary thing, because you're letting go and you're giving them control. The thing is that it's hard for us to understand is we never had control in the first place. The customer, right, the marketplace, the conditions, the culture will always dictate what type of products we're making and how we're making them. So this is just like an extreme version of it, right? And so I think if we can all learn that, I think we're going to be way better off. I know for me, I am almost like, well, if we can go through this, you can go through anything. Well, let's start going through more stuff. Like, let's start forcing and pushing ourselves a little bit further to try some new things, to explore, to get out there, to take some risk, right? And that's why I'm really excited, like the next 6 months I think the whole world's going to be like that. And at least our country is going to be really open to new ideas and new thoughts. And I
mean, how many times would you have heard if someone were to say, you're all going to have to work from home, like some giant company or whatever, you're not going to be able to come to the office, but you're going to have to, like, what likelihood would it would basically unbelievable and completely shut down. And yet, it would be said that, no, we could not do that. Would not be able to operate. But then when the literal circumstance hits and you have no other option, you figure stuff out. And then you realize, okay, maybe there's something here. And again, as us agency owners, like, and leaders and people in it, like we've done that probably a lot. That's probably an industry that knows the remote work. But take that and think about something that you think is a foundational thing that would never change. It could change. I've been saying for the last couple of years to myself and to some other people in our company, like, what if the internet gets taken away or gets shut down?
Yeah.
Again, like, that sounds crazy. I can't imagine that would ever happen. Doesn't sound so crazy anymore with this happening, but thinking about that, I think being open to thinking about that and challenging what some would call limiting beliefs or whatever you want to call it, like challenging norms that you just take for granted. I think there's some health in doing that, especially as a leader of a company, because now you can start to say, okay, well, for a second, like, what if that happened? What would we do? And then you can start to take some of that into your business, and that's innovation, right? Like, is figuring that out, asking the questions, hopefully presenting yourself with some potential challenges before they actually present themselves to you.
So what would you do with the internet? was taken away. I'm just joking.
No, I
don't know.
got some ideas.
I don't have any ideas. You have to share them with me.
We've actually been preaching the diversification message to a lot of people right now, because that is like diversifying your channels, your business. How do you do it? I mean, you think about marketing alone, right, Brad? Like you guys, and everyone listens to this, like knows, like most brands like thrive, like their bread and butter is like one marketing channel. That could be, Facebook, that could be an influencer, that could be something else. And now we've gotten so into this, return on ad spend investment conversation to where we're unwilling to even let $1 go if it doesn't return another $1, which is insane, because how do you ever explore new channels and invest in things that then, would again, like it actually sounds pretty naive right now, but like someone would say that's a waste of money. Like why would I invest money where it's not returning when I have money over here, when I have a channel over here that is returning? But unless you can invest into those things, you won't be able to diversify to the so that you can withstand potential disruptions in that channel. Like it's literally having all your eggs in one basket. And so that, I think we got really comfortable over the last 10 years, and we have all our eggs in baskets that are working, and we're just pouring more eggs into those baskets because we never think they're going to shut off. And
right.
Yeah,
I think
think about it is, what if Facebook was completely hacked and they were down for a month? Like it could happen. It's not,
And even more realistically, I've had people's ad accounts get shut down.
And that's your sole business is driven by just Facebook ad sales.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that I know you guys have done this. I have been advising clients for years to, if you are relying on one channel, social channel specifically, that you don't own or that you don't have control over, then you are just waiting for disaster. And we've all seen it. We've seen businesses that have built 90% of their revenue off of YouTube ads. And then all of a sudden YouTube says, I don't like you anymore. I'm going to block you for a few months. Or Facebook shuts them down or they lose their account. And I think a good exercise for anybody during this time is to look and say, what are the sources of traffic? What are the sources of revenue? Could I survive without it? And if I couldn't, start to diversify and be like, okay, we've got Facebook nailed. Let's now figure out how to do the same thing on Google, on YouTube. And if we've got them all nailed, then we say, okay, how do we survive in the real world without this? What are some ways that we can do this? And I think those are really good exercises for people, because it's so easy to say we are killing it on Amazon, and all of a sudden, one day, well, what's going to happen if Amazon kicks you off? Those are great. This is a great time to start exploring and experimenting with some options on those.
I think it challenges some people. I think it's really beneficial for individuals that were set in their ways, because this, if nothing else, says, hey, nothing is 100%. And I do think it takes it takes a visionary or vision, and then the courage to pursue that vision, because you believe in it in order to do that. And you have to have that. I was thinking the other day, like Chick-fil-A, for example, like they, it was like a year and a half ago, they pioneered that like online, like the online pickup ordering system, their whole technology platform. And it was them, like no one else in fast food was doing it when they did it a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was ago. And it must have cost them, I mean, I know it, hundreds of millions of dollars to build that entire technology out. They even then built stores that had were solely for delivery, right? So they were delivering to people. Like, so they built Chick-fil-A's that had no, you couldn't come into and you couldn't buy from. They were just delivery hubs. They would make it and they would deliver it to certain areas. So they pioneered all that online ordering and that app and all the technology associated with it. And I mean, that looked like, I mean, that must have been tons of money invested into that. All right. And now, and they must have been thinking, why would, why would anyone ever stop coming to our store, to our restaurant, to pick stuff up? Well, right now, I'm sure a lot less people are going there. I know, I mean, maybe the drive-thru's open in some places, but they're a restaurant, and I don't know how they're doing, but I'm sure that system that they invested into 2 years ago is the thing that is pulling them through right now. I would bet on that. Yeah. And it takes that vision. I guess my point is like to believe that we need to figure this thing out. We need to invest money into it. We need to probably lose money on it in order to figure it out, because it's important to diversifying our business. And I mean, we're telling, again, like a lot of our clients are e-commerce clients, and part of the message we're preaching is like, look, e-commerce is very strong right now. It's got, there's obviously challenges in all industries, but it's one of the stronger ones because it's all online. But what if something happens there? Because it could. So you need to think about the other channels of business. I think as an agency, you got to do the same thing. And that's kind of how I categorize the done for you stuff, is like, that's one way of doing things. If all your eggs are in that basket and that changes, then what? And so I don't know. That's definitely the struggle, the thing that I've been chewing on for years now.
It's great.
And
hey, Brad, do you want to talk about what you're doing next Friday? I think this will be out by Wednesday, and give people a couple of days if they're interested. But I think you're doing an interesting kind of little webinar that I think agency owners would find really helpful.
Yeah, we're doing it's a 60-minute webinar. We're going to talk about 3 different things: how to protect your financial viability. And I'm bringing on a friend of mine who's a CPA. Is going to talk a lot about financial assistance from the federal government during this time, and maybe what's to come in the next couple months for small businesses specifically. So how to really get through this and make sure that your balance sheet isn't flipped upside down. And then the next thing we're going to talk about on the webinar is we're going to talk a little bit about how to use this time to really strengthen your brand and to really figure out the why, what we talked about today. And the third is we're going to look at case studies and ways that companies have reinvented themselves, not only today, but also in the past, for different types of challenges that we've gone through as a society, and how this is the best time for companies to reinvent themselves, and some ideas around that. So that's going to be next Friday, April 17th at 2:00 CTS. If you want to listen in, right now we don't have a sign up right now, but if you want to go to our website, anthemrepublic.com, and just send us a little note, we'll make sure you're on our email invite for it.
We can put a link by the time this is up in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put some link. Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes. So
awesome, guys! This was a great discussion, and I think that your vulnerability and your honesty will resonate with a lot of people out there, because we're all just trying to figure this out. And I wish we had a roadmap through this. We don't. But I think these discussions are very important. So thanks.
Yeah, this is group therapy.
Yeah, great to you guys.
Yeah, guys. We'll talk. We'll connect soon, and we'll put the links in the show notes for everybody. And if you haven't followed our Facebook group, please do so. Yeah, Agency Exposed Facebook group. Just search it. You'll see Agency Exposed podcast. Just search that on Facebook, and we'll let you in. And if you would, please give us a review and a little write-up on iTunes, if you would. It really helps us, more people, to hear about this show and engage. So if you do that, we would greatly appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Talk to you guys soon.
Talk soon.